Hello, my name is Tori.
Hi,
How are you doing today?
I'm okay.
Okay. And so, what brings you in today?
Um, well, I've it seems like it's getting progressively worse. I am missing my husband. He's deceased. He's been gone for about, well, actually 16 years. And so, yeah, it's just getting tough. And it actually kind of gets tougher around the holidays, but um, I just find myself as time goes on, a lot of people think that it's a healing, that as time goes on, time heals everything. But I don't know that I really believe in that, or if that's really true in my case. It might be for some people, but um, I'm not seeing that it's getting any better. So I'm
Okay.
kind of here for that.
Is your loss only affecting you?
No, not at all. I have five wonderful, beautiful children that I had with him, and my four older are out of the house, and I'm still raising a 16-year-old daughter. But I kind of believe on the whole that um, uh, through the years, it's obviously affected all of us, but I'm more concerned about my children, but I'm not really here for, well, I guess I'm here for them as well, but more for myself so that I can be on top of my game as a mother. And but it has affected them. But through the years, we've also had to learn how to cope. And um, now that I have more time I have a little bit more time to um, uh, try to go through. I have more time to think about everything um, that I'm feeling. Um, I'm just having a difficult time with. Uh, but through the years, I've tried to put a positive spin on things too, like all the wonderful things that we did together as a family, and for them to think about the good memories of their dad also. But it's you can't lose. You can't lose someone significant like that and not have it affect your life. And it truly has affected my children's lives. So that's another reason why I'm here too, because and especially more for my older sons. But so yes, it has affected them as well.
Okay. Well, well, how was your life like when he was around?
When he was alive, it was very fast paced. There was a lot of life in our family. There was just we were very uh, family life was very important to us. I mean, we had five children together, um, and everything was kind of fast paced. My kids were younger, um, so we were just really involved. He, had his practice, and I worked in the practice, and I was also I got accepted into a dental hygiene program.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was also still raising our children that were younger. And but we really enjoyed ourselves together in life. I mean, there's good stress and there's bad stress. So there was always
Yeah.
it was never boring in the Baldwin household. So let me just put it that way.
So you guys were really busy with the kids, and you
Mhm.
guys loved your kids, obviously, and they loved
Yes.
you guys.
Uh-huh.
So you guys. It wasn't like he was just here and working. He was actually involved with the family.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and we used to have friends that used to tease and said he was never without one of his kids because,
Oh wow.
he was very involved too, but he had a very busy dental practice too. So, I mean, he was a dentist and he worked hard, and he was really booming the year actually that he was killed.
Oh,
And but yeah, we we were just living our lives, raising our kids, and just, enjoying each other and what I believe that families should be,
So what happened like the week that he passed, which I'm
Mhm.
very sorry that happened.
Thank you.
What happened like in that week to progress to that?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. Well, a lot happened because we were, like I said, very busy, and he had a very busy dental practice. And I think kind of what led up to that, on Monday, my husband and my father-in-law, they went to Chicago to watch Purdue and some other team play. I forget.
Mhm.
And by the way, my father-in-law was a pilot as well. My husband's a pilot, was a pilot, besides being a dentist, and so they had flew into Chicago, and watched the game, and then they came back in that Monday evening, and actually my husband and my father-in-law, because they were kind of flying back in a snowstorm, and this was in March, and actually because I reminisce about this and I think about this over and over again, my husband really should have been killed if things were going to happen when they were coming in a snowstorm, because he had a Piper Cherokee plane, and it's kind of a complex aircraft. And I keep thinking about this, that he should have, I repeated this, but because the weather was so bad, they flew into a bigger airport. They flew into Mount Comfort Airport. But where my husband's hangar really was at was in Hancock County. But because it was so bad, they went ahead and flew into the bigger airport because it was just safer and everything, because the other one, nobody would be there at the time that they were coming in. And it was kind of nice too, because my father-in-law, my husband had another person, another very very good pilot. My father-in-law was in the Navy, so and he had taught my husband a lot, but my husband had taken he was IFR certified, which means you can handle the instruments and everything at nighttime. So he was incredibly just
He was
highly
He
intelligent.
was good at what he was doing.
Yes, both of them, yes. So, but I still say, because of the snowstorm, they really, I would have thought something would have happened then, even if it was, the two of them. And the reason why I say that is because that happened on a Monday, and then 3 days later, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, my husband was actually killed on a Thursday on a beautiful sunshiny day, but it was still cold. It was March. So, yeah.
Okay, so
But I can tell you about it.
I'm sorry.
But go ahead.
Who was still in the plane with him? Was it your father-in-law was in the plane with him as well when he passed away?
No. So that happened on a Monday. They got into the airport, Mount Comfort Airport, safely and everything. And actually, my husband had to go ahead and I take that back, because there's so many things that lead up to that day that I'm forgetting, that my husband took him to, because my father-in-law lived in Ohio, so I think they went to the Toledo airport. So he took him home and then came back. That's how that happened.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So that was on a Monday. And then, so then Tuesday and Wednesday, in his practice, and I was in hygiene school, and I was pregnant at the time with my fifth child. I was about 4.5 months pregnant, and then on Thursday, it was March 12th, 1998. And I still look back to that day. I can look back to that day very fresh, but he, that morning, so on Thursdays, my husband, he didn't have to be at work until his hours were like from noon to 7, so that he could reach other patients that couldn't come like during the day because they worked. So he would keep his practice open until 7 p.m. And like I said, I was going to school full time, working there part time whenever I could to help with the practice. And so that day he had to get his plane from Mount Comfort Airport back to Hancock County because he had a hangar there. That's where he kept the plane. And so he had called me on the phone. No, I take that back. There's just so much there. But that morning, we were, getting ready to start the day. The kids I had already gotten them off to school, off the school bus and everything. And then we were talking. We just knew that we had more time because we didn't have to be at work until noon. And then, so my husband, we were just, kind of hugging and kissing a little bit. But so he said, okay. He goes, I've got to go back to Mount Comfort Airport. He goes, I got to take the Z-28 and because it was over there. And then he goes, I got to take the plane back to the hangar. He said, so just go ahead and meet me at work. And I said, okay. And, to let the first patients in. And because I could do front office and back office procedures in the dental office. And so that was good. So then, he said, I'll meet you over there. Well, the thing that, I think about, because everything now, because I have more time to think about everything is slow motion now, because I try to reminisce and think about that day, even down to, just the minutes before, or the best way that I can. And so that morning, before we had to leave, he said, I gotta go get the plane. And I said, okay. And so I kissed him goodbye, and then I went out to the garage. Mm-hmm. And the next thing you know, I came back in the house, and I said, I forgot my brush. Mm-hmm. And he said, okay. So I got my brush, and then I kissed him again, and then went out to the car. And then I went, crap. I said, I forgot my purse. I left my purse back in the house. And so I went back into the bedroom and got my purse. And then went back out to the car. Sorry, this gets really emotional because
you're okay.
Because I forgot one more thing.
You're okay.
I forgot what it was, but I went back and I hugged him one more time. I forgot something really stupid, and
take your time. You're okay.
But now I look back on that, and in a way that was like a sweet kind of a experience for me, because had I known that I was going to lose my husband that day, I would have never left the house. But at least I had those cute little moments that, because I was forgetting my hairbrush, I forgot my purse, and and I just think those last little moments were, pretty special for me. I have to look at it special because when you lose somebody the way that I did, you have to start thinking about how you can turn it around into a positive thing instead of a negative, because I still have to be a good mom because I've got these 4 kids that are wounded and devastated, completely devastated from losing their dad. And, and I'm pregnant on top of it. So my last daughter, my last child, she didn't even really get to know her daddy. So, that hurts too. But anyway, so I left and I went to his practice. And from here, even to this day, there's things that everything is kind of out of order. Some things I can remember like dead straight on that happened. And then there's other things that I can never retrieve back because I think the devastation is, so terrible for me that I'm able to regroup some things, but some things I'm never going to get back that in a certain order. And I guess that's not necessary for me. I mean, I don't need to, and I've told this story so many times because people want to know my story that, I leave things out or I'm able to, as time goes on and as I progress, hopefully, and overcome a lot of things, I'm able to go, oh yeah, and make more sense of everything. So anyway, so getting back to all that, so he went and was taking his car to go get take the plane back to Mount Comfort Airport. No, to Hancock County. So anyway, I'm driving to his office, his practice, and I'm letting his first patients in, and there were a couple of his other employees there, and he opens up the practice on a Thursday about like at 12:30 in the afternoon, and then so he was getting late, and he was like over a half an hour late, and that just wasn't like him. It was just, and then some of the other patients were getting a little antsy because he wasn't there. And I remember one patient came up to me because she knew that I was his wife, and she looked at me and she goes, "Dr. Baldwin better have a good reason why he's late." And I felt really bad. I felt really bad because he wasn't like that. I mean, he was very professional and loved his patients, and I felt bad. I said, I'm sorry. I said, I'll try to call. I don't know what's going on. I said, I'm really sorry. Can I reschedule you? Blah, blah, blah. But she was clearly pissed off. Mm-hmm. So I started calling. I called his cell phone, and he didn't answer, and he didn't answer, and it was just like, what the heck, Mm-hmm. And then I called the airport where he kept his hangar at, and I said, has Scott has he left yet? I mean, and what was really weird about that is they hung the phone up on me. And I was just really, I know now why they hung the phone up on me is because they couldn't deal with telling me what had happened, because I still didn't know anything yet. And then, so I called back and I was trying to get them to answer the phone, and the phone was busy. Mm-hmm. So this just started alerting me, and then his employees were like, they were kind of teasing me, but they were like, "Where's Dr. Baldwin?" And like I said, I don't know. I mean, he should be here anytime. So then I just started, started not having a good feeling. Yeah. Because I'm very in tune. I'm kind of like that anyway. I kind of feel like I have that, I don't know, just
a sense about
yeah. And so I started kind of pacing back and forth, and I found myself kind of pacing back and forth, and I thought, because it was like by now he was like an hour late, and when patients were coming in, and we had to start having them leave, and trying to set up appointments. And I remember going to the break room, and I kind of said a short little prayer, and like, it's just like, God, where is he? What's going on? And and I was like, I didn't want to think the way that I was thinking, but it was just like, you better just hurry up and get here. So the next thing that I know is, you know how in a lot of the offices you have the windows that they slide open,
Yeah, I know what
like
you're
in the
talking
front, yeah. I had it open, and I'll never forget. So, and I remember that a woman policeman came in and a black policeman came in, and he took his hat off, and they started walking towards me. I mean, I was behind the desk, mind you, but everything from there and everything started was slow motion. It was like they were coming towards me, but it was like slow motion. Everything started to be slow motion for me, and I was just like, no. I mean, I did, it's just like, why are two policemen in my husband's office? Unless I mean, he did have patients that were policemen, but I knew who all was on the appointment that day, and none of them were policemen. So they said, are you Mrs. Baldwin? Are you Dr. Baldwin's wife? And I said, yep. And I shut that window. It's like I kind of slammed it, and at this point I was out of control, because when he took his hat off and just the looks on their face, I just didn't. It was just like, nope, not. So I shut the window. I said, yes, I am, and they go, are you? And they asked me again. I said, yes. Like, what do you want? I mean, and to this day, I was already frustrated. I was so upset, because I think mentally it was just like I was kind of getting prepared for what was going to be said. And they said, Mrs. Baldwin, can we come in and talk to you? So there his door, and I'm kind of have a little bit of a flip attitude, but my heart is just already starting to pound. And he looked at me, and the woman was there, and he said, Mrs. Baldwin, I have to tell you that your husband was killed today in his plane. He was in a plane crash. And I was like, no. I said, don't tell me that. I said, get away from me. I said, don't tell me this. And but yet I was still grasping, wanting to know, and it was just, everything was surreal. And I asked him again, or he said something to me again, and by that time I really started flipping out. I was screaming to the top of my lungs, and mind you, I was 4.5 months pregnant, crying, and I was screaming so loud that I peed my pants, and I kept peeing my pants. It was like nonstop. I was just like, and then I started knocking over. I knocked over computers. He had the big with the ledgers with all the patients on there, and I knocked it over. I started taking paintings off the wall. He had a great big fish tank out in the waiting area, but they could see that I was so out of control, and everybody was screaming and crying that were his employees, because they loved him. So anyway, and I was pretty much out of control at that point, and I could not control myself, and I was screaming and crying, but yet I couldn't. Nothing was making a lot of sense to me. I mean, I wasn't making and then my heart started hurting, and so they were getting another person to bring a ambulance in. And I was really kind of spastic and just really kind of I was out of it. And one of the policemen was getting ready to kind of like slam me to the floor, to try to help me, but because I couldn't get under control. And then I remember one of the other ladies that worked, she screamed and she said, please, please be careful with her. She's carrying Dr. Baldwin's 5th child. And I remember her saying that, and so he hurried and grabbed me. But I was just, and
it's normal to have anger, especially when you get
yeah,
things like that. It's normal to act like that. I feel it's
I
not.
know. Yeah. So
It's normal to feel a lot of frustration, and then when you hear something like that, you will keep thinking like, what could have I done differently? Well, everything does happen for a reason,
right,
even though it's not. Doesn't seem like it. It's always good in everything.
right. And I get that. I just, it's just hard going through all that, and and so the policeman, he was watching every move that I was making, because I was the one that only had a key to his office, so I opened up there, and he followed me right in there, because obviously I was trying to be in control, but I didn't want to be. I mean, I couldn't help it, and it was just, and I sat in my husband's chair and he was across from me, and I said, please tell me that this isn't true. I said, please tell me that this is maybe it's somebody else, and he said, Mrs. Baldwin, he goes, I wish that I could tell you, and he kind of got on his knee. That was very sweet, very endearing. He goes, I wish that I could tell you that it was different. He goes, but it's not. And he goes, we've got the reports and it is your husband. And it was really weird. I went to the closet, his closet, and got on one of his sport jackets. And I put it around me, and I just said, you don't understand. I said, that's my eternal companion. I said, he is my eternal companion, and families are forever. I mean, that's just the way my thinking and the way that I grew up, and with my religion at the time.
Yeah.
And he goes, I just wish I could tell you something different. And I was just heartbroken, devastated. It was like my world turned upside down, completely upside down.
Yes.
And to this day, it's never going to be the same. I get it.
Yes.
I get it more than I want to get it. So I think at that point, then my head started going in like just very fast gears. I was just switching gears, and I was just like flipping out again, because I said, I've got 4 children in elementary school, and I started flipping out, because I said, I don't want them to hear on the radio on the bus, if the bus driver has the radio on and they're going to hear about a dentist that was killed in his plane, and I said, I have to get home, I have to, and the policemen were too slow. They were too slow, and I didn't wait for them again, and I was racing through town. I was just, I can't even believe now that they allowed me to leave. I think I kind of acted like, I can handle this. I'm driving myself home.
So you had to be strong for your kids.
Yeah.
Basically. That must have been very hard.
It was, because I remember the fireman that was there. He said, I understand that you have 4 children. And I said, yes, I do, and I need to get to them. I said, because I don't want them going home and finding out from somebody else. I need to be there. And I felt like everybody else was moving really slow.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and I was flipping out, because just like, can't you just get me to where I need to be? I really don't want to drive, but I will drive if I have to. And I just felt like everybody was just, they were just out of touch with what was going on. And later to find out, I wanted to tell you that fireman, his one of his sons later dated my daughter, but anyway, that's beside the point. But and as soon as I somehow made it home, and by that time, when I was at the office, I tried to call my mom and my mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got on the phone and was calling my mom at my husband's practice, our practice, I remember distinctly that I could not I just started screaming and crying, and it was just like, all I could say is, Mom, Scott's dead, but I couldn't get the words. It was just like, and she was just, every first response, people are like, no, and screaming and crying. And then my mother-in-law called me because her significant other had heard on the news.
Oh.
And so my mother-in-law, she didn't want to believe it either, and she called me at the office. That was the only, and I was crying, and she started crying. She goes, Linda, is it true? Because this is her son.
Yes.
But she was trying to be strong for me, and I just started crying and told her, yes, it's true. And she goes, I'm coming over there right now. I'm going to be with you. And I said, hurry up. I just said, you need to get here now. You need to get here. So before I left the practice, my Susan and Jack, her boyfriend, they were there, and he was kind of more like a father to my children, more so than my father-in-law. That's another story. But anyway, so I was able to get home, and I got home just in the nick of time before I probably had like about 10 minutes to try to get myself together, and I certainly was not together.
Yeah, that'd be difficult to do.
But I had a prayer. Somehow I had a prayer. I don't even think I knelt down. I was just praying in my head and stuff, and I was asking Heavenly Father, just please allow me somehow to just to get this across to my kids the best way that I know how. And I think all the kids were, I think there were maybe 2 buses, because I have 4 kids going to different schools, 4 different schools, because that's just how it was. So when they all got in there, and so my mom was there, and my mother-in-law, and Jack, and maybe a few other people, and so I gathered my kids around, and we were in the living room, and the kids, they were really like, they knew something was wrong, because why were both of their grandmothers there, and like as soon as they get home from school.
Yeah, it's not specific.
Yeah,
it's just a random Thursday.
Yeah, yeah. And I gathered my kids around me, and I was shaking, and I was just like, with all the strength that I could muster, if I ever needed the strength, I needed it right then and there. And so I like sweet, innocent, precious children, I gathered them around me, and I said, kids, I have something to tell you. And this is the worst thing that I could ever think of. I said, I don't want to tell you this, but it is true. And Mommy would never lie to you about something like this. And so their little innocent eyes are just looking up at me, and I kind of have knelt down. I'm because they're shorter, and all my kids are taller than me now. But so I got on my knees and gathered them around, and I said, your daddy was killed today in a plane crash. Daddy was killed in his plane crash today. It was horrific, just horrific. And just the innocence, and so much was taken from my children that day. And just to see how they started screaming and crying, and my third child, which is my first son, he ran upstairs and just buried his face and to his bed. And so my mother-in-law went after him, and my oldest daughter, she started screaming and crying, and no, Mommy, it's not true. I mean, the grades of my kids were 9th grade, 7th grade, 4th grade, 2nd grade. And my little 2nd grader, he just couldn't understand, and just the ramifications of how things happened, because he started drawing pictures of planes all the time, and and saying my daddy can fly, And but each one of my children did something a little bit different as I had to tell them that. And so there's been a lot of lost dreams and a lost things that have happened. But that was the very beginning of
A new life.
a new life. Yeah. And a new way of living, and kind of saying goodbye to what we had.
Yeah.
So that's how it started.
Yes. Well, so you have a very good support system because you have both sides of the family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's the good part. Did they help you with the kids afterwards? Because I know you didn't probably have a lot of time to grieve at the time.
Right.
You had to help with the kids and their grieving.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, you were pregnant, so it would be very hard to stress out and then be pregnant.
Yeah, that's really a good question, or a good, statement that you made, because, and to answer your question, yes, I had a very good support system initially in the very beginning, and like for the first 3 months, it was like, it was, I got so tired of, because people, as much as I loved it and appreciated it, I needed time alone at the end of the day too. And so I got a lot of support from, I kind of feel like I had a neighborhood support. I had school support from like 2 or 3 different schools, and the community. And then our church that we went to got tremendous support there. And then, some people that didn't really even know, but because it was all over the news. It was all over the news because my husband was really booming that year in his practice, and he did quite well. He was in his 10th year. We were in our 10th year. Mm-hmm. And, but yeah, so there was always people that I could trust with my children. Because I was kind of like a helicopter parent, and always, but so from my church family to, good friends in the neighborhood, and many places, they helped. In fact, the schools, what was really wonderful that helped me was they brought in meals for gosh, 3 to 5 months. They kept, every day people were bringing in meals to where I had to start. And I was kind of gained some weight too, but it was okay. But because the last thing that I wanted to think about or do was think about what to prepare for the kids, because I was literally devastated, depressed, just in shock. And I really don't think that I would have did as well as I did had I not had my church family though too, because that kind of anchored us together. But even with having that church family at the time, or that religion, it was still tough. Even with all that support, it was still tough. Because there were days that I just didn't even want to get out of bed. But yeah. So I had, I had a lot of support, but I still needed time by myself too, and I wasn't getting that much time because I had to take care of 4 wounded children that desperately needed me.
And as they got older, you had more time to start to grieve.
Right. And I'm still.
It's never gonna be the same, So.
Right.
It's still gonna be hard.
Yeah.
With a loss like that, especially because it was very unexpected, and
Mm-hmm.
It's not good to have a death, but it makes it easier when like somebody has a disease and that their time is coming. But yours was very unexpected,
Yeah.
and I think you handled it pretty well for the what happened. I think you handled it well for what happened and how you told your kids, and I'm happy that you were the one to tell them, even though that was probably one of the hardest things you had to do.
Right. I didn't want anybody else telling my
Yeah.
kids. They're my children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm responsible for them, and I take my calling as a mother and motherhood very seriously, and I don't care if they're out of the house. I'm always an
Mom.
example. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want them, I definitely did not want them hearing on the bus.
Definitely.
And that was just, and I didn't want to, yeah. So there's just different things that that we've really had to work through. Just so much that has happened,
Okay.
different scenarios.
So, in the perfect world, how would it be? What would you say a perfect day would be?
Well, I think I've been asked this before, but my perfect world, and I know that I'm not going to get this back at this time in my life because we're on Earth life, but my perfect world would to have my husband back. I mean, I'm not going to lie, and I mean, I would never lie about that, but I want my husband back. I want him back. That would be part of my perfect world, and and having him back, and having his youngest daughter to know him, because she never got to know him, and I've had to recreate things so that she can try to know who her daddy was. We've got videos, and I try to do different things there, but if I have to think about the perfect world, knowing that he's not going to come back, because that's obviously not going to happen, my perfect world is to see all of my children to succeed and having the kind of abundant life that I feel like they need to have. Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
And because there's like my two older daughters, they got married. I know they wanted to have their daddy there to walk them down the aisle. There were times when I didn't allow my daughters to date until they were 16. And, it would have been kind of nice for these young men to see that they had a dad around, because I've had to deal with that, and a lot of it was not fun.
Yeah.
And what I've always said is, I know how to be a good mom. I've never professed to know how to be a good dad. So that wasn't fun. And then my two older sons, they're struggling like crazy, and because although they have a mother's love, and a mother's love runs very deep, they don't have their dad's work ethic. There was so much that they lost by not having the same-sexed parent. And this is something that really bothers me to this day, because they should be moving on faster, and they should already have their degrees, and they don't have them. Well, my son's got one of my sons got his associate's degree, and the other one had just recently started going to school, but they wouldn't allow any other man to step in, and that's just so that's hard. So in the perfect world, I just without Scott being in it, I wish my sons were further along. I wish the money that my deceased husband left to me, I wish I still had that, because I married about 4.5 years after my husband died, and long story short, this person was a con artist, and he took over half of what my deceased husband left to me and my kids. So I would like to at least have that, and maybe because it's taken a toll on my livelihood. I'm grateful for what I have, believe me. But so the perfect world would be, since I know I can't have him in it, I would like other things to be in it, like the financial stability and other things that I don't have.
So, in your saying, sorry, in the perfect world, you would without your deceased husband, because even in the perfect world, you
Right.
can't get him back.
Right.
You would have financial stability, sorry.
Yes.
Which we all would, of course. And
Right.
then have the best for your kids,
Mm-hmm.
which is good.
Yeah, and the reason why I say that, and yeah, I know everybody wants financial stability, but the reason why I can say that in a different way is because I had that once, and it was
Yes.
taken from me.
So then
It was taken from me, and their evil motives is what killed it, and that so I say that, and I still have some resentment about that. I've had to let a lot of things go, and it's like, doggone it, what else do I have to let go? I don't have, so that's why I say the financial, and it's not because I need all this, that I'm ungrateful, and I'm very grateful for what I have, but don't take away all 5 of my kids' college education, and that's exactly what happened.
Well,
So that's what I'm mad about.
I would be upset too, and I understand, but I don't understand where. I'm sorry, I can't say I understand because I've never been in
Yeah.
any predicament, anything like that. But I understand as a mother that you would want the best for your kids.
Right.
But that is very difficult, and I think you handled everything well. But I know about the financial part. You had everything that you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it seems like you had everything that you wanted.
I mean, we were just starting out, but I mean, we were doing good, I mean, yeah, the practice was booming, and the things that were important to us was more like vacations than having the bigger house or anything like that.
Definitely.
We had a great little house. Yeah, so it depends on what's really important to a person, as far as the money or whatever. But because, my husband, thought ahead, and I had a life policy, that was for my kids and myself. It wasn't for, and so.
But it must have been hard to work very hard to get to a financial stability point, and then having it knocked down, and then now you're working back up again, which that's very good that you just didn't say, I'm not going to do this again. It's good that you're setting an example for everybody around you, that you're still being strong, which that's very good.
Yeah, but sometimes I get kind of tired. Well, I used to in the past. I've kind of had to get over this too. But initially, there were years that went by. It was just like, why in the hell do I have to be strong all the time?
Yes.
Why do I have to? But I couldn't be so selfish because I had 4 children and an infant that was looking at me for guidance, and I knew that in the back of my head. But I still, I'm still human. So yeah, it's been hard.
But I think you did handle everything well. And I believe that, I did say this, so that everything does happen for a reason. And I think everything will get better soon. But even though it's been 20 years?
It's been 16 years. All you have to do is look at my youngest child, and she's 16, and that's how, he's been gone for 16 years.
So, I mean, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
And I'm very happy that you came and talked to me.
Thank you.
And it's probably still difficult. It probably is still difficult about talking it out to people, because you do get emotional still, and that's okay. Even it doesn't matter how long it's been. It could have been a year, it could be 50 years. You can still get emotional about losing somebody.
Yeah, and that's really one of the main reasons why I come in here, because I don't want to sound like a broken record. I don't want to have it his loss towering over my life now, because I've got to move on. I've got to press forward, and I feel like I'm doing that. But then I get knocked down on other days. I mean, the holidays are coming. It's going to be tough, and then there's days where it doesn't have to be the holidays, and a song will come on that'll remind me about him, or I'll have a dream and he's in it, and or just watching one of my kids suffer unnecessarily, where their dad could have said, hey, if you do this and this and this, then, let me help you cut through the red tape, especially with my sons, because they're grown men now. But they would not allow, like any other man, to, it's like, you're not my dad. And I gave them the kind of love that I could give them, a mother's love. But like I said, I don't know how to be a good dad. I've never said I could. And there's so much that my sons had to go through without having their dad here. And so they suffer, in certain ways. But I just don't want this to kind of like hang over my head constantly about, that's one of the reasons why I'm here. Well, lots of reasons, but to be at school, and to learn and grow, and to, because, one day I hope I can help others by my example. I know that I've helped a lot of people, and I have kind of a big heart for people who have, especially women who have lost their husbands, because I get it. I'm there. But I also understand about different kinds of losses,
Yeah.
So
That's good that you know what you want to do now.
yeah,
And that is a good thing, that you have been the best mother to your kids. And you don't have to be a father, but you were a very good parent to them, and you raised, probably, I haven't met him, but you probably raised your kids the best as you could.
yeah,
And they all graduated high school, so that's a good thing.
yeah. They've gone on to college. I mean, well, my four older have. Well, my two older graduated, and then my third oldest, he's got his associate, but he needs to finish, and he's kind of dragging his feet, and he's got so much potential. And then my younger son, he is just now beginning to get on board, because he went through a really tough time, and started tattooing his body a lot. Really incredibly handsome young, I mean, very handsome children. But he so my kids have had, their run of how they have dealt with things, and it's but I've always been there, and they know that, because they've already had that thrown at them. So I've had to kind of put myself on the back burner, and now I have more time.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of people think, well, crap, 16 years have gone by. It seems like she'd get a better handle on things. And I kind of think that myself. I mean, I'm thinking about that. But you know what? I can't be embarrassed about it anymore. I am where I'm at. And so that's really why I'm here, to try to help figure out how to move forward. And I just wish that I didn't miss him as much as I do.
That's okay. You're always going to miss him. But I am sorry again about your loss, and I think you did handle everything well. But thank you so much for your time and coming out.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.